It's Bears Packers week, and it means something. Also, what's happening with the general manager? Ton to cover. Playoff picture coming into focus. The CHGO Bears podcast starts right now. Pulling out all the stops on Bears Packers week. That's right. It's not where we want it to be, but we are going to live in the present. We're going to be where our feet are. And this is the CHGO Bears podcast on a Monday, final week of the season, trying to end the 10-game losing streak.
For the three people that were just watching all NFL live and are now watching this show live, I just want you to know that I just ate my lunch in 90 seconds in between the two shows.
So there was a great
I feel like Superman.
There was a great man that I used to work with back in the day when I was trying to make money in the trading world. I was that guy at the CBOE, the Board of Trade, and my guy Scott Bauer was out there, who people might, if you pay attention to the finances, you see him on TV, whatnot. He would leave the trading pit, go upstairs, get a grilled cheese sandwich, eat it on the escalator down, and be right back in there. Yeah. You Bowered. You're a Bauer today.
I Bowered. Yeah.
Shout out Scotty Bauer, also a great shortstop, by the way. I might need him on the softball team next year. All right, so let's get into it, team. Mark Carman, Adam Hoge, after hosting ALLCITY, is just going to let me sit here and handle the hosting duties, if you will, today, although we're all doing the same job here, damn it. What's up, Gregory P. Allen Braggs over there?
How are you?
You wearing your Notre Dame because, what are they, in the college football playoff or something?
The only team that has any semblance of happiness, I guess.
He's wearing it because Cole Kmet's coming in studio today.
Yes, Cole Kmet is coming into studio here in a little bit.
Not on this show.
I gotta tell you,
watch the 85.
I gotta tell you, shout out Cole Kmet. Dude just was at Hallis Hall handling media duties. Now he's gonna come down here, handle the 85. Mm-hmm. We got some pros around this football team, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, I think we've established that with him.
Yeah,
no question about it. Yeah, I got a lot of things to talk about though from.
Yeah, so
really the first Sunday of the entire year, I've gotten to sit in my basement with my 3 TV monitors and watch 6 games at once. It was fantastic.
Right, so we're going to start out today's show. What we learned from a bearless Sunday, it was, man, I mean, for those of you watching Sunday night and watching Jaden Daniels run around, I don't know how you couldn't have at least the thought that was in my head, which was, why do the Bears continue to repeat history as far as just not talking to really talented guys? Didn't even interview Jaden. It was kind of fun to watch. I know you're not necessarily focused on that part of it, but that guy played a hell of a football game last night.
Yeah, but he did. He did. And Drake May looks great in New England. And cool. They're on better franchises. Like, I don't know.
I get it. I get it.
Like, if you really think that Jaden Daniels will be doing what Jaden Daniels is doing with what the Bears have been dealing with this year.
Right, but if you really think that they shouldn't have at least talked to everybody, I don't understand that. Why would you repeat the same thing you did with not interviewing Deshaun Watson for whatever your reason is? I'm not saying they would change their mind. I'm not saying they got it wrong, even though they certainly got it wrong this year. I don't care what. Jaden's been very impressive. Now, will he be able to last in the league the way he plays? That's a real question, and it's a doubtful answer. But I'm just look when they go into the
Carm, you're only allowed. If you're only allowed so much interview time in a year, so if you interview 15 offensive coordinator candidates, you can only interview 1 quarterback. That's how it works.
That's how it works. That's what it was.
Well, and what are you saying? So
I'm saying,
are you saying they should have interviewed all the quarterback?
Didn't they talk to them all at the combine?
They never did as deep of a dive on Jaden.
And if they had, would you have wanted them to draft Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams?
My point is this, and maybe they would still get it wrong because they get a lot of things wrong. But when you go into these things, when you have an opportunity like they have right now to hire a huge, enormous hire in what are you laughing at? I don't.
Great comment by Eli Sherman. Carm 30 seconds ago. Let's be where our feet are. Carm right now. Can't believe the Bears didn't talk to Jay Daniels.
Good point, Eli. Whatever, Eli. But my point is this, though, being where my feet are, Eli. You have a head coaching search. do your due diligence in corners, but where you might not.
Carman, I almost swore 10 seconds in the show.
Go ahead.
They're going to screw it up again. You just need to accept that. That's what they do.
I'm not accepting that. I will not accept that.
Okay. Well.
I've accepted it.
Yeah. I mean, look, you know what the theme is? You know what the Commanders conversation, if you want to have a Commanders conversation, it's not about the quarterback. It's about ownership. They had the worst owner in the league. Forced them out. New owner in the playoffs. We never won 11 games under Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder, the owner of the Commanders for like 2 decades. Never won 11 games. New owner, bam, 11 games.
You got a plan on how to force out the current ownership?
No.
I have a plan.
Well, I heard about his plan earlier.
But I can't.
Probably not legal.
On the air.
No, but we had 2 choices. We could just keep lying about how it's not a problem, or accept that it is an enormous problem, which it obviously is.
No one's lying about it. We're in it.
But we try to bare our heads to pretend that it's.
Look, we have this guy. His name is Kevin Ward.
Well, that's the thing. Either Kevin Warren is actually fixing this, which right now through almost 2 calendar years, there's zero proof that that's happening. And maybe this time around it's different. Or someone on that board, who I still don't know what they do there, needs to change the chairman. Those are the 2 options, because they're not selling the team.
Right. Can we somehow weave our way into at least a different little land of how they do things? And that was the whole point when Kevin got here, that, okay, now George has given up. There's this guy. He's going to go ref games in Sycamore and do whatever he does. And umpire. Hey, and good on. Great. That's fantastic. Give back. Live your dream. But but now the rubber's going to hit the road here on how they do it. I'm just giving him a piece of Carman advice. Do it a little differently. Let's uncover all the rocks here. I get that you want Ben Johnson. I hope he wants you. But let's just say hypothetically he does want Jacksonville more. You best figure out, your plan B in a very detailed way. That's all I'm saying. Period. End of story. Hoge, I will lean back my thoughts on yesterday from some other corners of the Bears world and let you take wherever you'd like to go and what you learned yesterday watching all the NFL games.
Okay, well, there's one thing I learned is that it's not just the Bears that have epic clock mismanagement.
That did make me feel better.
I mean, oh my God. And I think I can actually explain it.
Really?
Yes, I think I can, because here's what's going on, at least in my time covering the NFL. Okay. Teams didn't used to care so much about leaving time on the clock. And in fact, the Bears famously lost the game to the Falcons back, I think it was 2009, right? Where they left it really shouldn't have been too much time, but they left too much time.
12 seconds.
So they left 12 seconds on the clock. But that's actually where this panic comes from, because it's like if we leave any time on the clock, they might come back down and complete one pass and kick field goal or give up a Hail Mary to the Washington Commanders. But what has happened is, so teams didn't used to really care about that. They would maximize, okay, we have time on the clock. We're going to score points, as many points as we can to win the game. And it applies before halftime too. Like before halftime, we're going to score as many points as possible. And then the New England Patriots came along and they were winning so many games, and Tom Brady had so much control over what was happening on the field that they became very skillful at not only scoring, but doing so in a way where they're bleeding that clock down. And then the Chiefs, they've got named Patrick Mahomes, and they have this offense that they're totally in control of. Same thing. And then you have all these other teams in the NFL, like the Bears, who think they're the Patriots, who think they have Tom Brady, who think they're the Chiefs. They think they have Patrick Mahomes. And they're so worried about leaving time on the clock that they forget to score points. Yeah. And they're sitting there. The Vikings did it yesterday too. It wasn't just the Falcons. Before halftime, the Vikings had the ball at midfield, all 3 timeouts, over a minute on the clock. Kevin O'Connell doesn't call timeout. Clock bleeds and bleeds and bleeds. They run one play inbounds. Now they call timeout. And now, instead of having a full minute and 3 timeouts, they're basically in the same spot on the field with 20 seconds on the clock.
Right.
And they have their 2 timeouts, but you have almost no chance of scoring a touchdown now. And they were very fortunate they even got a field goal off of. So now at the end of the game, he did a great job. Kevin O'Connell did, managing the clock. And you could kind of tell even in the moment they flashed to him before halftime when he screwed it up with the timeouts. And he's like, you could tell he's like mad at himself that he screwed that up. And then Raheem Morris did it all night with the Falcons. He did it for halftime too in that game when they could have had a touchdown. And maybe that's a different second half because you score a touchdown going into the half instead of the field goal. To me, that makes a difference. So
and he did it at the end of the game as well.
Yeah, no, they totally screwed it up at the end of the game, and it might have cost them a playoff spot. So that's the point. Like, it's great if you have that ability, but that is a luxury. That is a luxury. I talked about it after the game the other night on our post-game show against the Seahawks because Thomas Brown did this at the end of that game. Stop worrying about leaving time on the clock for your opponent, especially if you're the Bears. Jesus Christ, you'd be fortunate to score one touchdown in the game.
Right.
And you're so worried about bleeding the clock down. You got to worry about winning first.
Well, so this would be one thing that if I was doing the interviewing the Bears are going to be doing, I would ask every single candidate, what is your plan when it is the end of the half, when it is the end of the game, and you are trying to figure out when you should call timeout and when not to call timeout? Because there is widespread evidence that we saw here with Matt Eberflus and then with Thomas Brown this year, and that you see all across the NFL. Raheem Morris and even the great Kevin O'Connell was phenomenal at the end of the game. Did struggle at times this year in the halftime that you just before the half that you just underlined. What is your plan for how you're going to be the most efficient at that point of the game, which is where, by the way, you make your money more than anywhere else? I mean, sure, there's a whole thing of having the locker room and your game plan and handling a coaching staff and the media, a zillion things, but the margins are slim. How are you going to help us win a game when you have to have it in the final couple of minutes? And I would want to hear somebody say, I am going to hire a coach that is going to be active in telling me what to do in those moments, to give to that is their lone responsibility, to understand clock and time and down and distance and in essence, my timeout management coach. They need somebody like that who's very good at it. Because you see it across the NFL. When the bullets are flying, in the moment, these guys who have coached football their whole life, they're not great at it. It's not easy. It's an advanced skill.
No, it's not easy, but I don't know in an interview how you can prove that you'll be good at that and your process will be good at that. The only way I think that you can base anything off of that with your evaluation of these coaches coming up is what they've done. And go to the tape and see how they handle, because there's so many different situational moments that there's not anything they can say to me in an interview room that's going to show that. I need to see from your results and what you've done on tape in the past and how you've handled those things and how you've corrected from mistakes you made, because ultimately mistakes are going to happen, but it's about how you respond to those.
Well, there's one of those things where we're going to talk a little bit more about my coaching series that I'm working on. And part 2 came out last week. We didn't talk a whole lot about it last week, so we're going to spend a little bit more time on it later on the show. But that's one of the things when you evaluate an experienced head coach versus a non-experienced head coach, a Ben Johnson versus a Mike Vrabel. One thing that's very easy to track. If you're a Mike Vrabel or you're a Brian Flores or somebody who's been a head coaching before, you can actually look up their challenge success rate on Pro Football Reference. It's right there for you. Shows you look it up, you can see how many times. So that's one thing that you should consider. And then another is, and this is more of like watching the tape, because if you don't watch these games, if you don't know football, which is part of the problem up there sometimes, it's a much bigger chore, but you could, how did Mike Vrabel do with clock management during his time in Tennessee? You might have to go back and actually watch games to look at those situations, or at least dig deep into the archives of what was written in the media about some of those games and things like that to know which games you should look at. But that's all stuff that if you want to spend the time to really look into, you can. With Ben Johnson, you're not going to know until he's your head coach.
Which is why, and with Ben, it's kind of tricky because he's got a lot of leverage here. But let me rephrase with the question that I would ask. How are you going to support yourself on your staff for end of half, end of game situations?
They got a guy right now who does that, though.
But he's not good at it.
Okay, well now you got to hire the good guy who's at it. I mean, like,
who's who? What? Give me names. I want to hear what are your thoughts?
You want me to name you the analytics guys that get behind the scenes
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I want to know who you're hiring.
Do a whole show on that in February.
Who was the guy we brought on? Aaron Shots.
Great.
Shots.
Hire Hoge. Maybe that could be your guy. Dude's accomplished.
I'm great with numbers.
Accomplished.
I'm great at math.
Stud on the high school level. He's got time in his day. Hey, before we move along in the show to Bears and Packers, does it matter at all? Which it does. Damn it, we're going to tell you why. But first, shout out to one of the people that makes this podcast possible. That is VeriLife, looking for the perfect way to elevate your day. At VeriLife Dispensary, they got everything you need, premium cannabis products to expert advice, whether you're new to cannabis or you're a connoisseur. Their knowledgeable bud tenders are there to help you. They've got 8 convenient locations across Illinois. Wherever you are, you're close to one of them. VeriLife proudly offers the price match guarantee, ensuring you get the best value by matching local competitors' prices on eligible products. Don't miss out on their latest deals, exclusive offers only at VeriLife Cannabis stores or online at verilife.com. If you place your order online, you can still use that redeem code CHGO25 at pickup to receive the discount. Mention that code CHGO25 in-store, and you get 25% off one regularly priced item. Restrictions do apply. VeriLife Dispensary.
That's right. I want to give a shout out to our guys over at Game Time. Gonna be using Game Time to go to the Winter Classic at Wrigley Field tomorrow with my guy.
Thanks for inviting me,
Cody Delmendo. You're not invited, but all of you are invited. If you want to hang out with us at Wrigley Field, I'll be there tomorrow using Game Time and the code CHGO for $20 off. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you not only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets, but you also will be able to find the best value. Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to find that better value to tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and everything. It's not just games. Got my tickets on Game Time to AC/DC coming up in the springtime. Excited for that, even though my wife is not. All-in pricing is my favorite feature. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. A lot of those secondary markets tries to bait and switch you and show you a certain price. 5 windows later, it's double the amount that they showed on the sticker. So, and the seat views, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. When you go on the app, you can see exactly the vantage point where you're going to be sitting. And then, of course, their Game Time ticket coverage. Your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. What time is it?
Game time.
I got a nugget.
Yeah?
Well, technically Adam Schefter has a nugget, but it's one we need to talk about.
Oh. You know the Tower's talking today, too. Nuggets.
Yeah, I know. I see you're texting Gary Ross right now about Sears Tower.
And did you hear that Taco Bell is selling nuggets?
The Denver Nuggets?
No. Chicken nuggets. I'm not a fan, but I'm just.
It's a big move by Taco Bell.
It's a lot of big news dropping.
More importantly.
What's your nugget?
Mike Vrabel's contract with the Cleveland Browns in his consulting job expired today.
Ooh. Solid nugget, Schefter.
It's a big nugget.
That makes him available to do interviews with head coaching teams that have an opening right now. So if you are the Bears, if you are the Browns, if you are the Saints, you could do an interview with Mike Vrabel
right now,
this week,
today.
And that can be in person too, which matters because, and this is where I kind of wanted to go. We didn't hit on it in the first segment, but I'm curious from Bears fans on this one too. So just so people understand the rules, if the Lions beat the Vikings and they have a first-round bye in the playoffs, they can interview Ben Johnson next week. It has to be a virtual interview, though. It cannot be in person. Ben Johnson cannot come to House Hall.
Good.
I was going to say that might be
good. Could be our best chance. Yeah. Let's get them in a bye right now.
Don't show
them. If they lose and they have to play a game next week, technically they can interview Brian Flores then, virtually, but they cannot talk to Ben Johnson until following Wild Card Weekend. Again, those all have to be virtual interviews until those teams are done. Which is interesting.
So what do you want here, Hoge? You want the Lions to have a bye? What are you going to, you know?
Well, I think it's interesting because if the Lions lose, their road to the Super Bowl is harder. Mm-hmm. It's greater. You don't get to talk to them next week, but there might be a better chance you can hire them earlier.
Yeah.
Which impacts your staff and who you can hire and the timing of all that.
Mm-hmm.
If they win, if the Lions win, then you can talk to Ben Johnson next week. And if you really want him that bad, like he's been out there, maybe you can iron that stuff out virtually, get well down the road, at least figure out very quickly the compatibility with Ryan Poles, since that seems to be a huge point of contention or at least conversation in all this. I just find the timing of it very, very interesting. And I would think if you're the Bears and you're talking to Ben Johnson's agent, at least back channeling right now about timing. And I mean, if I'm already talking to his agent, being like, hey, if the Lions lose on Sunday, what time can we do the interview on Monday morning?
Right. Which is probably happened.
But if they win Sunday night, then you can't talk to them. So for a number of different reasons, that game Sunday night is super interesting, but it has Bears consequences.
Well, and they're also playing tonight, by the way. It's a rematch of the old NFC Championship game last year, where I'm pretty certain the Lions had a 17-point lead in that game.
Yep.
And
Mr. Fourth down aggressive got a little too aggressive.
Yeah. So if you're dangerous Dan Campbell, you playing your starters tonight?
This is a fascinating situation because this game tonight basically doesn't matter, even though everything's on the line in Week 18 between the Lions and Vikings, right?
Right.
Division title, number 1 seed, bye in the playoffs.
Win or lose, it doesn't matter.
Well, here's why it matters a little bit. Because if the Lions win tonight, they would get the 1 seed and the division title if next week's game ends in a tie. They get the tiebreaker, essentially.
Tiebreaker for the tie.
Yeah, tiebreaker for the tie. That's what's on the line tonight. If they lose to the 49ers, the Vikings would have.
Which the Broncos almost tied here with the Bengals.
With the overtime rules, even last night, the Commanders.
Last night could have been a tie.
They weren't really talking about that on the broadcast, but the Commanders, all they had to do was run out the clock.
Right.
And they're in the playoffs.
Right. Well, they mentioned at the start of overtime.
Yeah, but even in the moment when they're like close to the goal line at the end, I'm like, they could just run this clock out as much as possible. Ended up not mattering, right?
Well,
it does. But is that enough of a consequence? Well, if you're the Lions right now, who have been banged up, been dealing with so many injuries,
right?
You could essentially give your guys a ton of rest tonight on a short week before a huge game against the Vikings with your division. I don't know how they're going to handle that. I feel like Dan Campbell's the type of guy who's just going to be like, football, we're playing football.
Let's bite your ankle. We're beating you. You beat us in the championship game. We're going to at least get 1% of that back tonight by kicking your ass. Something of that ilk. Yes, I agree. But your short week point's a good one. Like, hey, man, you got an enormous game next weekend. You don't really need to play this game in addition. But the other thing with Detroit, though, is because they're so banged up, they are in some level of figuring out who can actually function and how to use guys that they didn't necessarily have to have early in the year. At any rate, I'll be watching. Let's go. All right. And last one, actually, before we get to the Bears and the Packers, Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy's going to be available, right? They're trading J.J. McCarthy, right?
It's fascinating. I
don't think they're trading him.
Really?
Yeah. I think they'd re-sign Sam Darnold and let J.J. McCarthy continue to bake in the oven.
Do you think Sam Darnold would only sign for 1 or 2 years now?
No, but I think they could sign him to a 4-year deal with an out, some kind of out after 2 years.
A 4-year Braggs out Darnold deal?
Well, the part of this well, here's the thing that people are actually looking at this the wrong way. Every time I hear this discussion, it's what's going to happen with J.J. McCarthy. Sam Darnold has all the control.
Right.
Sam Darnold, unless are they going to franchise tag him?
They're going to pay him.
Well, that's the thing. But like, if Darnold hits the open market, he might get paid a lot somewhere else.
Darnold's a $50 million quarterback now. They're going to pay him.
Well, but this is
Maybe
it's
more.
not the same because Kirk Cousins was coming off an Achilles and he's a lot older. But they did let Cousins go last year. Now, I think this is different, but
Shockingly right move by the Vikings.
well, would it be the right move again?
To let Darnold go? Did you see that locker room celebration?
I know. Yes, that was my best of the week on our All NFL show an hour ago. That was the best.
You're not.
Sam Darnold's story is amazing. I don't think it's a black and white decision.
That's crazy to me. This guy is the Minnesota Vikings, who many people predicted were worse than the Bears that would finish fourth in the division. That none of that matters.
Counterpoint though.
Okay, go ahead, counter me.
The counterpoint is what I keep hearing about is how much coaching matters. And it does matter. It's obviously a ton of coaching. And it's okay to have both be true at the same time. I can give Sam Darnold all the credit in the world. It's a great story. But if we're agreeing that Sam Darnold goes to the Jets for some reason, which he wouldn't, but if he goes back to the Jets, they pay him a boatload of money. You think he's going to be as good as he's been in the Vikings?
No, but that doesn't matter if you're Minnesota. This guy has.
It does matter because here's why. Because if that's true, then it could also be true that they get a hell of a lot out of J.J. McCarthy on a rookie contract instead of paying Sam freaking Darnold $50 million.
Yes, you could roll the dice and do that, but you would be punting on somebody that you know has figured it out in your system and is leading you to being within an eyelash of the number one seed in a year where the Lions are setting a franchise record for wins. Let
me ask you this.
Why would you punt on that?
However Sam Darnold's career goes the rest of his career, what do you think, what year is going to be the best year of his career?
I don't know.
Probably this year.
Probably. I'd say it's probably
especially if he
this
goes to another team after this year.
Well,
And so
I
that's
just looked too. Like the Vikings have $78 million to spend in the offseason. Like they could keep him if they want to keep him. They have plenty of cap space.
To me, the perfect scenario is to keep him around on a short term.
You're not going to be able to do that.
Well, can't you franchise? I haven't really thought about it. Can't you franchise him? You can franchise him.
Pay him the average of the top 5 quarterback AAVs in the NFL.
Washington franchised Kirk Cousins like 3 years in a row. At least 2 years in a row. I'm forgetting now.
I mean, now we're in the weeds. Are you allowed to do that on a guy that's coming over on a 1-year deal? You can franchise him like that?
Yeah.
Well, that might fair, fine. That might okay. In that scenario, I will allow that you could keep JJ, franchise him, make him do it again. But if the Vikings traded JJ McCarthy right now, what do you think they get? Pick 15 to 35, roughly?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think
lower.
lower.
For sure. He's coming off an injury. He hasn't played.
You had 2 procedures on the knee now, too.
This was the number 11 overall pick.
That was that also should be brought up in this conversation that we kind of forget about. I do not like when all of a sudden there's a random scope or a random we had to go back into that knee, which happened. That's concerning, which also might be a reason why you keep Darnold.
Right, but he's not a linebacker. He's a quarterback. I get it.
I see you get rid of both and you keep Daniel Jones.
That would be there you go. Now we hit pay dirt here. Look, do you want to make a wager that Sam Darnold gets a long-term deal with the Vikings? Would you like to make a friendly Adam Hoge wager on this? I'll bet you he gets paid big dollars.
No, because I'm not resisting that might be the most likely scenario at this point. I don't think it's as cut and dry as some people are making it out to be. And I'm saying this as somebody that sat there for 3 hours yesterday drooling over what Sam Darnold was doing and being incredibly impressed. Let me tell you this, too. There's 2 things that worried me about the Vikings going in the playoffs. And that is sort of washed over in the middle of that game was Sam Darnold threw a crucial bad interception up 17 in a situation where you cannot make that throw. And he tried to fit it into a cover 2 hole that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And
he also made a lot of
He did.
Big time throws.
He 1,000% did. But I'm just saying it is not off the table that in the NFC Championship game, he throws a terrible pick in the fourth quarter.
Sure.
That ends up costing him the season. The other thing that's probably even more likely is that kicker missing 2 kicks yesterday, doinking them, and it's the Vikings. That's how their seasons always end. So right. I'm sweating my kicking situation.
There is a direct pathway to all 3 NFC North teams losing their first game in the playoffs.
There you go.
And that's what we're looking for, so that we as Bears fans can make fun of them for having the same amount of playoff wins as the Bears.
Thank you for landing the plane brilliantly. We'll get to what matters with the Packers game coming up here as we did a little extra there on yesterday. But first, shout out to our friends at the Chicago Sports Network, the new home for your Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox games. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a full line of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're Chicago-based, Chicago-built, Chicago to the core, and they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across the 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit chsn.com for more info on how to watch the Bulls, Hawks, and White Sox games all season long.
And with 2025 right around the corner, now is your chance to save big on your next vehicle. The model year-end sales event is going on right now at Ray Chevrolet. Head in today, like literally today or tomorrow, to shop their huge selection of new Chevy models with special model year-end prices. Right now, you can take 10 to 20% off MSRP on select new Chevy models or shop over 125 of their vehicles priced under $20,000. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. Visit our partner this December at their location on Route 12 in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. And if you've heard of Ray Chevrolet, you also know about Ray's Price Promise. Their guarantee to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever with no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees ever. That means the incredible prices that we're talking about right now, you can expect to see the very same when you shop Ray Chevrolet in store or online. Shop the model year-end sales event all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com.
All right, second part of the podcast, second half hour, whatever. I'll work on that one for transition going forward. Bears, Packers, does it matter?
You were workshopping it.
Yeah, no, just trying to feel it out. All right. Look, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the Bears have lost 10 games in a row. They've never lost 11 games in a row in a season. That's on the line. Does that mean anything going into the offseason, going off in a win, sending Thomas Brown out in style? Thank you so much for doing every role on this team this year. Does it matter?
They should build that guy a statue.
The T. Brown statue?
He had 7 jobs in one season.
You know, you were doing.
I can respect that.
You were doing your all NFL show. The guy spoke today, and he's so unbelievably impressive to listen to. And he's had zero.
People don't want to hear that anymore, Carb.
I understand. Well, they might want to hear this part. Yeah. He's had zero impact on the Bears. Zero, as far as I can tell. And it's like, how bad is his locker room? If this guy is Johnny, do everything right. And you know, I don't know. It tells me something about that room. It just does.
Well, I agree with you, and I think that's why, you know, on one end you could be like, well, see, firing Eberflus didn't do anything; it just made him worse. On the other hand, I think it exposed exactly what you're talking about. Eberflus was so bad situationally that any player talking could basically just be like, well, you heard Keenan Allen after the game in Detroit. Well, we did our job.
Right.
And we did our job as players. Well, it turns out, you know, that's why I still think it was the right move, because I think it exposed kind of how deep these issues go, which goes back to the genesis of this question here, which is if you're a player and you're going to go play at Lambeau in the cold on Sunday, you know, what is your motivation level? Because to me, it should still be high. You have a chance to end this losing streak. You have a chance to beat the Packers, which you haven't done. I meant to look this up for the show, but like, is it true that not a single, maybe only Patrick Scales has beaten Green Bay? Probably only Scales.
Look, Jalen Johnson hasn't beaten Green Bay.
Well, right. I don't think anybody on the team except maybe the backup hurt long snapper has beaten the Packers. Like, that shouldn't matter. But to your point, Carman, about like where this locker room's at, Greg, I don't know how much anyone's really going to care about.
But that's why if I'm the Bears, what I'm doing is I'm bringing Mike Vrabel into Hallis Hall tomorrow. I'm walking him through that front door. I'm going to time it during the time the players are there. Let them see. Hey, this might be your new head coach walking by you.
They should let him coach on Sunday.
Let him coach on Sunday. No, but seriously, let him walk through Hallis Hall. Let a few people see him. Keep people on their toes like, hey, your new coach is watching, potentially. And what impression do you want to make on the next head coach that's going to coach the Bears? Because your tape does matter. And so if you're not going to have enough pride here in this last week to put something good on tape, then that shows me all I need to see. You know, I see people kind of making jokes about the culture. Well, the culture is rotted right now. And it, stems from frustrations through the seasons, frustration with the coaching staff that were justified. But at the end of the day, you also still have to be professionals. And you can look at Caleb Williams and say, he's got maturing he needs to do. He's got to get better at the details. But you could also say that about a lot of veterans on this team as well. And the leadership or lack thereof that they've shown through these trials and tribulations, the amount of airing out of dirty laundry going on in the media and through interviews. So to me, what matters this last week for these players is to show that they're willing to turn a corner next year and have a serious attitude adjustment. So if I was the Bears, I'd have Mike Vrabel walk through that door just to keep everyone on their toes and remind them, like, hey, the assistant, the substitute teacher might be in right now, but your boss is going to be here real soon.
You're wrong thing to do to our guy Thomas Brown, but I kind of am amused by your concept that Vrabel just walks through and just stares them all down and tries to instill fear. I might be your head coach. And if I am, I'm going to kill all of you.
Look at some of the quotes that have come out today. Kyler Gordon. I was just looking as we were getting ready for our show. Kyler Gordon came out and said, one of the main things he said, we need a coach to come in here and enforce discipline. Cole Kmet had said right before him, it doesn't have to be an offensive coach.
Can you imagine being a player and going to the media and saying we need discipline?
They've been begging for it all season. Mercedes Lewis said it after the third week of the season that they needed Shane Waldron to be tougher on them. And so this has been a constant narrative going on all season long where the players are begging for it. Now, the thing I'll push back on is that I feel like the players haven't held each other accountable enough. And I think the leadership has been lacking. So I just think the longer we talk about what the issues are with the Bears, and there's a lot, from the front office to the coaching to the players to the division they play in. But the thing that I continue to circle back on is how undisciplined and unfocused and unprofessional the locker room has gotten, and how much they need some people that are going to get in each other's faces, whether that's a head coach or assistant coaches or players. They don't have enough hard asses, and I know a lot of people roll their eyes at that concept, but look at what's going on with this team. They are too soft. This organization is too soft. That is their biggest problem beyond whether or not they can get a first down. I'm not worried about Caleb Williams' talent and ability to make plays. What I'm worried about is discipline. That's what I need from this team, is discipline and attention to detail and some toughness.
Okay.
That might be narrative stuff, but the players repeat it, so it's just something that I feel strongly about.
I wanted you to finish that up, but I wish next time you just did a little bit quicker when major news is happening.
Well, that's why I kept it going at the end, because I could tell you guys were doing something.
Thank you. Apparently, the tower, Sears Tower, as you see in the chat, is calling it for now and has deactivated his account. The Tower, who was tweeting earlier today that Ryan Poles is getting an extension and that Ben Johnson, it's his job if he wants it. It's a 6-year deal if he's going to take it. The Tower has decided no more Tower.
Off into the sunset.
Off into the sunset again. The Tower's done this before. He's deactivated and returned. But we're at a Tower deactivation. So I don't know what that means, Hoge, but I think it means something. Tower deactivation. Tell me. Should we be? What does this mean?
I mean, the same hour that Mike Vrabel becomes available, Tower goes away.
Yeah.
I think Vrabel already made his first move.
Is Vrabel the Tower? Tower Vrabel?
You can't tell me it's not connected.
I mean, I
if
do.
we're going to have a stupid discussion about this, I'm going to keep it stupid.
No, believe me, I want this discussion to be as stupid as possible. But for those who don't know, there is a Twitter handle called the Sears Tower, and this dude's been putting out information that Bears fans, many of them who are in the chat right now, consider gospel. I pretty much consider the Tower's word gospel.
Oh, you definitely do.
I am a gospel Tower guy. And Ryan Poles is getting an extension, and Ben Johnson is getting offered a contract, and no one's ever coming here.
Well, in the Tower's defense, I don't think he's necessarily gotten anything wrong yet.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to go off of, Tower, who deleted his
could be the
account,
Tower.
We can also point to a guy like Albert Breer.
Did anyone just get escorted out of House Hall by Bears security? I would be curious about that one.
So, but if we want to point to Albert Breer, who has been, heavily connected with a lot of reporting out of House Hall over the last 12 months.
Okay,
in his article in the Monday Morning Quarterback, he cited some things that I certainly thought were interesting, and where he talked about over the last month and through a lot of his reporting, Albert Breer said that the Bears are going to lean towards a quote-unquote leader of men type of coach, which enrages Bears fans every time they hear that moniker. And I understand, but it's just what Albert Breer reports. And when Albert Breer reports, I do listen. And so he did put it in his Monday Morning Quarterback, which all of you should read, but I'll bring a few lines to the table here where he said, "So what's changed in Chicago? Well, the company line may have shifted a bit from the idea that the Bears are solely looking for a quote-unquote leader of men. One thing that has been emphasized to me over the past week was that if the leader of men wasn't specifically a quarterback's guy, then he'd have to have a very clear and sustainable plan for the quarterback." And I think obviously that goes without saying. The bigger, I think, tidbit in here that aligns with the Sears Towers reporting this morning that Ryan Poles may be in line for an extension. Albert Breer goes on to say, "The biggest question that prime candidates have is about the role of the team president, Kevin Warren, and I think the McCaskey family is aware of that. To that end, GM Ryan Poles is set up to run point on the search, and I'm told it's because that's the way ownership wants it. Warren will have a seat at the table and a major say, of course, but Poles will too, as the McCaskies seek alignment on the football operations side." So that alignment at the end, I think, lines up with the idea that Ryan Poles may get extended with a head coaching hire to line up the quarterback head coach.
Is there any words in there that bother you the most? Because there's a couple that bother me the most.
Anytime ownership was mentioned.
Right. That's the way ownership wants it. Ownership.
Yeah.
Carm over here. Stop wanting things. Just hang out. Have lunch. Get a chilled asparagus salad.
That's not how it is, though, man. If you guys haven't been able to figure that out by now.
I haven't. I don't know why I haven't. Like, why are you doing anything? Go see a movie. Seriously. Play golf. Ump games. Chill out. Count your money. Stop wanting things. You don't know what to want. Delete your wanting mechanism. I've given up wanting things a long time ago.
Yeah, that's just not real life, though. Like Guy Finley says here in the comments, I agree with him. Like, what ownership of an NFL team just says to the GM, yeah, go do whatever you want. I'm good. Every single owner meddles at some point. Like, even when Woody Johnson goes and becomes the ambassador to a different country, like, someone else has to take over that role to meddle. And it's not even meddling. It's their team. We don't have to like it. They own it. Do you own anything that you're just like, I don't really care about it?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Well, not that I don't care about it, but like I let
But you still have final say over decisions.
Not really.
Nothing?
I'm sure there's some things, but like things that when I know that I don't know anything, I let other people make those decisions. Do I sit there? For the 5 cents that's in my 401k? Do I sit there and analyze the stock market and say no, don't put that money over there? No, I don't, because I have no idea. So I stay out of it. Do the same thing. This is your 401k.
It's not their 401k. It's their whole business.
It is their 401k.
It's not. It's their whole business.
Just know what you know and know what you don't know. You don't know anything. This is not that hard.
Oh.
Do I sit there and when the tailgate's going on, do I try to set up the lights for Greg Braggs? No, I don't.
No, we wouldn't trust you.
Correct, I don't, because I know I don't know.
That's a good point.
Do I try to when Firewater Barbecue? Do I try to cook the?
You don't own those things though. It's different.
Yes, but okay, all right. Look,
I'm just saying it's not realistic to think an NFL owner, no matter who that person is going to just be like, yeah, go do everything.
Look, the Giants aren't exactly the greatest piece of evidence that I can use here, but I watched John Mara walk in there and talk to Joe, say, we lose to Saquon Barkley?
Yeah.
I'm not wild about that, but okay. And they walked out.
Yeah, but I think
that's exactly the point. That's what they do.
But
he didn't make him do anything. He just let it happen. But he let the greatest player, or the most greatest recent player in Giants history, walk over to the Eagles and win and be in consideration for the MVP because he got out of the way. He let that happen. He didn't say, "You let Saquon go. I'm going to."
But now you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, because now you want to both. Yes, you are, because you're saying that John Mara should have gotten in the way.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying he should have.
But hold on,
I'm not saying he should have gotten in the way.
Because what are we saying here? Because we can rail against the McCaskies all day long, and whatever decision they make, whether it's right or wrong, we can just go after them because we hate them, and I understand that. But at the same time, for him,
don't say we.
I don't hate him.
I like George.
Well, that's because you're idiots then. But to this point of they want Ryan Poles to be the point person. Kevin Warren oversees it, but that's how they want this structure to work. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with that in theory.
Well, here's where we're going a little off stray, because as you were reading to me what Albert Breer reported in there, what I was thinking was nobody's going to believe you, George. So he's basically saying that ownership has acknowledged what was evident from the moment that press conference happened after Thanksgiving.
Right, because Jeremy Fowler said in the owners' meeting that everyone is wondering who's actually calling the shots here.
Exactly, because they did a horrible job of making it actually appear how they wanted it to appear, which is that Ryan Poles is still in charge of hiring the coach and Kevin Warren is going to stay out of it. That's obviously not what's going to happen. So what I'm hearing now from Albert Breer is ownership has acknowledged that, and so that they are now going to create the mirage that's different by extending the GM.
Which is insane. Completely insane.
Am I wrong?
Well, I think it's also because these head coaches, and if they want one of the top candidates, which I hope they do, then that means that those coaches only want to come in here if there's alignment with the GM. And so if their intention is to keep Ryan Poles, then they have to sell to these people, look, he's going to get an extension with you, so you're not coming here and interviewing for a job with a GM in a lame duck season. Well, that's their only two options. They either fire him or they give him an extension. They cannot keep Ryan Poles on a one-year deal. No coach, most coaches, I'm not going to say no coach, but most coaches and all the good options are not going to take that job.
Well, and the timing of the extension, if that's indeed what's coming, it is fascinating to me because
they're going to give him an extension and want no one to talk about it.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. The most secret extension of all time. But
okay.
But here's why that's important, because if, like, let's say that gets done today for some reason. Well, what if Ben Johnson next week is like, no, I'm not in then.
Right.
That's insane. Like, so I still feel like the timing of said extension, or let me start over. The possibility of a Ryan Poles extension would be contingent on him and Ben Johnson getting along.
Yep.
They're aligned.
And Ben Johnson
Then I'm
is
okay
the
with
one
it.
selling to the fan base how much he believes in Ryan Poles at his introductory press conference. That's or Mike Vrabel.
I came here
or
because
whoever.
of Ryan.
Right.
I've really loved when Ryan went out and overpaid for
They don't
Tremaine
want to talk
Edmonds.
about
I
his
thought-
extension until the new head coach is sitting at the podium advocating for him.
I thought the Chase Claypool trade was.
I thought giving up a second round pick for a receiver in a year where you're trying to
I
lose
thought
is
he did a
absolutely
fantastic job with the offensive line.
people don't realize how good Coleman Shelton really is, and Nate Davis was just never properly used. By the way, we have a shout out to Nate Davis coming up at the end of the show here, which I'm really looking forward to.
We do.
We do. Nate Davis is in the news, man. Nate, we have finally figured out what Nate Davis did during his time at the Chicago Bears. It's one of the great accomplishments.
Before we get there, because we just talked, I think the headline of our show is like, what matters this week? So, like, are you paying attention to the Lions and if they're going to get a bye or if they have a harder road to the Super Bowl? And, are you paying attention to the fact that the Bears play it's Packer week? And, I think Bears fans just want the season to be over, and the Packers are playing for something. So that, obviously plays into what can happen here with draft positioning. So I just wanted to keep people up to speed on, for Bears fans, like what you're watching for here this Sunday. And I had my research team hard at work. Not everybody here has a research team like I do, but I do because of the hard-working people on Bears
This is
Twitter.
Bragg's Analytics.
Yes, and my guy George, and then my other guy, it's me who dis. Bear with me. Don't give that look because he's one of my expert analysts. Breaks down the following scenarios for how the Bears, who currently sit with the number 9 pick in the NFL draft, of how they can move up some spots. So the obvious ones are, obviously you need the Bears to lose. They cannot win the game. If they do, they could fall to the lowest to 10 and let the Saints jump them. But if they're to lose, these are the games that you're going to want to watch next week with rooting interest. You need the Raiders to beat the Chargers, and then we can jump the Raiders. You need the Jets, who were down 40-0 here to the Bills, to beat the Dolphins, and then you can jump the Jets. You need Carolina to beat Atlanta, who just had a heartbreaking loss. So certainly not out of the question. Then I think maybe the most realistic one, Jacksonville over the Colts. Jacksonville's been playing pretty well here lately, so I can't rule that out. And that's an opportunity to jump up to 5. But the Bears actually do have a shot to jump up to 4, and this is where you really get in the weeds. And again, shout out to my guy, King's Ivory. His handle is It's Me Who Dis. And these are scenarios if you're watching here on the screen.
To get up to 5, are you telling me that Jacksonville, the Jets, Carolina, and the Raiders all have to win? Is that right?
Right. Because of strength of schedule, you need
they don't have
the Giants to beat Philly. And then also the Bears to lose. But then because of strength of schedule with the tiebreaker, and they're actually pretty close in strength of schedule, you need Indy over Jacksonville, Dallas over Washington, Atlanta over Carolina, Minnesota over Detroit, Buffalo over New England, Seattle over LA. So there's a lot of different scenarios there where you could actually jump the Giants. But one of those is Indy over Jacksonville. So I don't know how they could actually get to 4. So I'm going to have to check with my research team on that little tidbit there. But the bottom line is there's 5 different opportunities next week for the Bears to jump a spot in the draft. And so those are the games that you need to pay attention to next week. So it's actually a very intriguing final week because sitting at 9 with 4 wins on the season, most times 4 wins would get you a top 5, top 3 pick. And right now you're sitting at 9 because of how lopsided the league is from top heavy. You have a 14-win team that's going to start the playoffs on the road. That's unheard of. And you have all these teams smashed together at the bottom. So it's just interesting to see.
I would never question Bragg's Analytics. However,
I'm still amazed that we just gave somebody credit for reading the schedule that we definitely have been putting in the rundown every day. I've been doing the Tankathon thing, but okay.
You did nothing. Shout out to King's Ivory. Shout out to George.
But you're not It's Me Who Dis.
Yeah, you're an idiot. Ask me who's the. Remember last year he did
tell
all our research for us last year at the end of last year. So just respect the research team. Stay in your lane, which is to be an idiot.
I thought we were going to get
talking to the mic.
Trying to figure out what happened just now. But go ahead. What are you going to say, Hoge?
Well, I wouldn't question Bragg's analytics at all, so I'm not trying to do so. But in case you prefer other sources, such as ESPN analytics.
Those idiots.
ESPN analytics actually projects that the Bears will end up in the 8th spot. So move up one spot.
Yeah.
Based on
they got Jacksonville winning?
Based on the most likely outcomes. This was updated at 7 a.m. this morning. Mm-hmm. And they have a 1.7% chance of getting into the top 5. 1.7. So,
and what did we have to get Derrick Rose back in the day with your Derrick Rose sweater you have on?
The same 1.7. That's right. And I wore Rose today because come on out next Saturday night. I believe we still have some sweet tickets available for our, especially if you're a diehard, the official CHGO Bulls sweet takeover, Derrick Rose night this coming Saturday. I watched some clips of D Rose and Joakim talking about some of the stuff they're going to be playing there. It's going to be an unbelievable night to be at the United Center. Come hang out. Live your best life in the suite. Not a cheap one, but hey, if you're one of those people that can afford it, that is a night to be there. So that's why I wore D Rose. But the whole point in this is that they lose every single one of these tiebreakers, right?
Well, apparently they get one. ESPN's saying that they would get it over the Raiders.
You're telling me that
would that require a Raiders win?
The Raiders are 4-12. So no,
the Bears are 4.
Correct.
So you tell me that if the Raiders lose at 4-13, the Bears are 4-13, the
Raiders win, they fall back.
Right.
So that I'm saying they don't. So they lose that tiebreaker.
Correct.
So they both have 4
because
wins.
of strength of schedule. We have no tiebreaker over
Anyone.
Right now. The Raiders, the Jets, the Panthers, the Jaguars. The Giants are the only one that we have a chance, as I tried to break down to you. Yeah. You clearly weren't listening.
I was.
That there's a chance we could catch them on the tiebreaker of strength of schedule. I get it's very confusing. Not all of us can understand math like I can, but you can try if you study and work hard in life, which you can.
Did you get through algebra?
You're already in the twilight of your life. There's no hope for you. And so there's no hope for you ever understanding math.
Did you get through algebra?
No.
Okay.
I didn't. Okay? But I understand football math.
Okay.
Well, how many times have we got to explain to you that they don't have the tiebreaker over these teams? That's why we need the Raiders, the Jets, the Panthers, the Jaguars to all win their games. And if they do,
all right, and
the Bears lose, then the Bears are picking top 5, which at this point would be the only consolation prize to an absolutely miserable 2024.
Right. Well, all I was trying to do was simplify it a little bit and bring up the possibility that if the Raiders if the Raiders win, the Bears would move up to 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one simple way to think about it.
Raiders have won their last 2.
And the Raiders have won their last 2.
Let's go. They're at home.
The Chargers at home. The Chargers do have a little bit to play for, but not a ton. It's the difference between the 5 and the 6 seed for them. You could argue that's actually important. But they also need the Steelers to lose to Cincinnati. So if the Steelers win,
Gary makes a decent point on the Carolina thing. It does hurt their pick with Carolina.
Yeah, but I'm more worried about the first pick.
I got it. Right? I got it.
Yeah. Let me look at this real quick. Steelers.
What? Oh, he's looking through his playoff scenarios.
No. So this is why this is important. If the Steelers beat the Bengals on Saturday, it locks the Chargers into the 6th seed Sunday, which means they have nothing to play for. They're locked into the 6. Raiders win. Bears move up to 8. They draft the greatest player of all time, hopefully a left tackle, Hall of Famer. And I just solved everything a lot simpler than you 2 idiots did.
But I think Jacksonville has a legitimate shot to beat the Colts, too.
I only see 2 teams on there that could actually work in the Bears' favor. One is the Jaguars over the Colts. The other is the Jets over the Dolphins. So just coming out about a half hour ago, Mike McDaniel says the Dolphins are still very much in the unknown when it comes to Tua's status for Week 18. That makes that a very winnable game.
Why would you play him at this point, too?
There's nothing to gain. I wouldn't.
So Jags, the Chargers, if they have nothing to play for,
Yeah.
And the Jets.
It's a very the
Panthers are scrappy. Panthers are scrappy.
It's going to be an awesome last week of the season. It'll be a phenomenal Monday. There's a ton going on. Reminder to anybody who wants to support the show, us moving forward, it's a great time to be a diehard. ALLCITY.com.
Mm-hmm.
Discount on all our events, including at $100 off for the Sweet Takeover, which is a sweet deal. Discount on our merch, discount on everything. Access to our Discord, which has been going absolutely crazy. I was in there last night getting yelled at by Caustic Wolf. Caustic, I'm coming back at you.
You got accosted by a what?
Accosted by Caustic. He was very upset.
At what?
He was mad that I was saying that Bears fans don't deserve wins, which is not what I said. I
would argue the exact opposite.
What's your argument?
They deserve wins.
I understand. And of course, this fan base deserves better than what they're getting. But there is also this concept out there that I paid my money and I went to the game, so, they need to win. And it's like, that's not how this works. And I'm slightly battling for some level of human decency.
It kind of is how it works, like any other business. You pay for something.
No,
you either get your money's worth or you don't. And if you don't, you stop paying it.
Listen, when I go into the sandwich shop and I get a grilled chicken sandwich,
mm-hmm.
I expect that the chicken is going to be cooked through, and I'm not going to end up in the hospital. All right. Now, if I eat that chicken sandwich and it's dry and it's terrible, and even the greatest slice of cheese on there is not going to do anything better, well, if I keep on going back to the same store and acting like you need to cook this chicken sandwich different, no, I got to go to a different store. That's right.
Correct. That's a decision you have to make. But that doesn't mean in the first place that you didn't deserve to have a good chicken sandwich for what you paid. You then make a decision based on the results.
Correct.
So if your point is that Bears fans have control over whether or not they go to the games, you are correct.
That's what yes.
Okay.
And I don't want us to turn into Eagles fans where if things go wrong, we start throwing batteries and everything else. And like, look, can we, I'm fighting for human decency here, Hoge. I've never been a big, boo people for just that are playing bad unless they're not trying. If you can accurately deduce,
so you're trying to say they shouldn't have chanted "sell the team" the other night?
No, that's totally different.
Oh, okay.
They
crossed over into something.
But that's okay.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. They've earned those chants.
But you can't boo the players.
Do you think booing the players helps?
If they're an unlikable team, yeah, I think it can. Then booing is venting your frustrations. Yeah, I think booing across the board is okay.
Did you boo Trubisky?
I've booed everyone at the stands at some point. If you screw up a challenge, I'm gonna boo.
I'm gonna boo both of you guys.
I mean,
I gotta go do my third show in a row. So can we say goodbye?
We're saying goodbye. It's all over. All right.
We got super chats.
Let's do the super chats. Shout out to my guy Kevin, our guy Kevin, Naked Man, the store. Who invited us to his holiday party, which
the Naked Man store?
The store.
You gotta work on your commas and
the
periods.
Store. Go to the store in Lincoln Park and hang
by a wolf
and hang out with Kevin. And that's not even why he's doing that in the chat as far as $50. He's just doing it to support us, which is why he's sweet.
Yeah. Kevin's got a chat.
Kevin's the man. He Venmo'd me and Dave beer money when we went to the Bears-Packers game via Game Time. Shout out to Game Time. And so tomorrow, Cody and I will be at the game.
Are you asking Kevin for beer
No,
money?
I'm not.
That's what you're doing. That's
the
what
thing
you
that Kevin doesn't know is I forgot my wallet when I went to the game for Bears-Packers. So I wasn't able to buy me and Big Dave the beers that he gave us the money for. So I'm going to use that money tomorrow now to buy Cody and I.
You can't pay with your phone? You don't know how to
owe
do that?
Big Dave a beer.
I do owe Big Dave a beer.
Yeah, and you don't know how to pay with your phone is where I got to, which is shocking to me. But
I don't pay
shouldn't
with
be
my
shocked.
phone.
You don't
old school. Pay with my wallet.
Old school be paying with cash.
Are you carrying coins in your pocket?
Cash.
Do you have coins in
I
your
have
pocket?
no coins.
You can't pay for cash with cash at games these days.
You have coins in your pocket. Ty Day, not $10. Appreciate you, Ty Day. If Ben gets hired
You skipped over Kevin's comment.
Did I?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's Kevin's comment. He paid $50.
Okay. I go to Houston for 1 week and Hoge is in the middle. Are we keeping the work wives away from each other? Happy holiday, CHGO. Hoge's doing 10 shows today, so we took a little bit of the load off him, and I sat here.
I think it's been a great show, though. I think I might stick here tomorrow, too.
Although
tomorrow's just me and Carm, so it doesn't really matter who's in there won't be a middle.
I mean, I love you in the middle. I think you're great there, but I love you over here too. And I think Greg just is the issue. Clearly,
If I could,
there's no
have
doubt. I am
7
the best.
chairs.
Steven, you vouched for me on this. I am the best with the microphone in the middle.
if I could have 7 chairs in between me and Carl,
whole-
I'd do it.
Oh, you're talking about actually
I'm talking about
into the
talking into my
microphone?
mic, being able to
Absolutely.
move. Yeah, it's not even close.
When this
Oh
guy,
my
when Bragg's, oh no, you
God.
can't talk. When you were reading earlier, I had to keep adjusting your volume because you're looking down here and your mic's up here.
Do this.
the only thing you're good at is
microphone is pointing
Oh,
over here.
Mister, let's end the show because I got to do my 3rd episode. But first, let's talk about what Greg does into the mic. How about we shut up and read the super chats?
tie day, $10. Great idea, Greg. Really, really, really great. If Ben gets hired with Poles staying on with similar contract length, is that a vote of confidence for Poles or a red flag for Johnson? I don't know how to answer that, but it's definitely I wouldn't say it's a red flag for Johnson though, because he believes he can be successful. You know what I'm saying?
Listen,
Yeah, I'm not worried.
whatever they decide to do, there's nothing that will happen that will give us any confidence until we actually see it next year.
Great.
It's gonna be a great offseason. All right, Arctic, $5. Appreciate you. I called it when they let Justin Fields go, and I'll call it now. Next year will be another wash because Caleb Williams has to learn a new offense, 2 wasted seasons minimum. Arctic, do your dance, buddy. You want to celebrate that you wanted Justin to stay? We're not going to get in your way. I will say this. The fact that Thomas Brown was asked about what needs to be better, and he leaned on the basic things. Getting out of the huddle, getting to the line of scrimmage, calling the plays. That I didn't exactly love. That's where he thinks the offense is at right now. But, hey, proof's in the pudding. And the next time the Bears score in the first quarter, it will be we'll might as well have a celebration. $5 from Adrian Mask. Keeping Poles. May lose you, Ben Johnson. May lose you, Ben Johnson. Questions I hope massively that people on the beat will be at the press conference ask questions about this week. You can't ask that, though, to Thomas Brown. So it's kind of, Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren aren't going to be up there. Zevi, $5. Bears Pack rivalry turned starting with the 2010 Week 17 game when the Bears had nothing to play for, having already clinched and lost. Turnaround coming? No. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
It was a good yeah.
yeah.
It was a good yeah.
Yeah.
Want to do Alex?
Sure. Weird. $20 from Alex Deno. Deno. Fix the line. 1, keep Darnold right. 2, trade down in the draft. Take Will Campbell. 3, sign Trey Smith. 4, sign Drew Dahlman. 5, sign Alaric Jackson. And 6, fire and lock Chris Morgan out of the building.
I don't think Simo's coming back.
That would be a little surprising at this point. I like that he's got that all. We should revisit that, in 6 months, see how much that came true. CJ, $10. RIP Sears Tower. LOL. Who even is he?
I think he's slightly related to
Gary Ross.
Whoever Sears Tower is, probably. I'm gonna go on a limb and say probably watches this show.
I think the Tower resigned under CHGO.
Text me, Sears.
Yeah.
Text me.
Well, I want to be your friend. Crystal, who's the greatest, $10. Hey guys, just sending some love on this Monday. And everyone, please go into 2025 with low expectations for this team. Just saying, love you guys. F Green Bay and bear down. Crystal, of course, came out. If you were paying attention to Twitter late last night, I invited the great Crystal to the Northwestern basketball game. She came on a Sunday, on an NFL Sunday, just to support the Cats and Carm and have a good time. And we have a new Wildcat fan. We got a new Cat basketball fan. And somebody on this show was not being nice to Crystal about it. And I found that to be very, very wrong, and I think there should be punishment for this, Hoge, if you like to think about what that person deserves.
I think you're kind of taking it out of context. I believe that the person you're talking about, who is to my left, Greg, was just making fun of Northwestern as a Purdue fan. I don't think it was in any way a direct shot at Crystal.
No, it's a direct shot at Crystal.
Okay, I take that back.
And there should be a punishment for that
There's
guy.
no punishment for it. Crystal, don't be an idiot. Don't fall for this idiot's ways of tricking people into rooting for a bum-ass Northwestern Wildcats team.
Now, that actually is disrespectful.
They're 10-3. They've gone to the tournament the last 2 years.
Oh
They've
my
beaten Purdue. The last 2 times you've walked in number
That's a
one
good
in the
point.
country and lost.
That's a great point.
What are you talking about?
When you
It's
can
your
win in
Super
Evanston,
Bowl. It's your Super Bowl.
that's fine. It doesn't matter. Don't turn it around. Next time you win a
I
game
will
in
turn it
Evanston, then
around.
you can start talking again.
I will turn it
And by
around.
the way, in those 2 years that the Cats have gone to the tournament the last 2 years and won a game in the first one, didn't you lose to Fairleigh Dickinson?
Oh, boy.
Are you talking to Purdue, who went to the Final Four? Something that Northwestern will never do? You loser.
You lucked into Zach
all
Edey.
right,
He's gone. You'll never go back.
Lucked into
Jack,
Zach
Super Chat, $5. Bears owners should let the people who know ball manage the team and what they need when it comes to player and coach personnel. Go Pack, go. All right, we don't need that Go Pack, go around here, Jack, but your
Well, I
thoughts are not
didn't
wrong.
say that because our great producer edited it, which you didn't read because you're an idiot, as I said, and then you just said that on the air, which should be,
In fairness, I
grounds
read,
for
off the, I
punishment.
read off the big ones, too, because I can't read the small ones. So I have Carm's back on this one. But he did edit it for graphic language.
That's
Yeah.
actually a great job by Steven. My apologies. David Kirk,
It's
$4.99.
funny.
Ryan Poles needs to be held accountable for not firing Eberflus doing last offseason. He doubled down on him and should be out. David, you are speaking the language of many Bears fans.
And Don says $5. Bears Vikings reset GM and head coach in 2022. The Vikings are 34-16. The Bears are 14-36.
It's nauseating.
Poles doesn't deserve an extension. Simple.
I'm not going to argue with
And you know what the craziest part about that is? Go look at Kwesi Adolfo-Menso's first draft. It is an abomination. It is an absolutely horrible waste of an entire draft. And despite that, they're that much better than the Bears in the same time period.
you. Well, getting a head coach right's is a big time deal. All right, so
rest in peace to the Sears Tower. We hardly knew ye.
Hoge's got to go do his
We
next
didn't
show.
know the
We don't know ye.
The 85 has arrived, so that will be dropping tomorrow.
That's right.
Brags After Dark tonight with Woot and
Adam Rank. Oh, I never told you guys this story. I was at the Blackhawks game, and a guy was walking by, and he was looking at me, and he was like kind of moving, and he goes, Adam Rank. And I said no,
No.
and I kept walking.
and I got to pay off the tees as we wrap up. Are we out?
He'll never learn what the preview screen looks like.
Okay.
Just a complete buffoon.
Okay. Listen, nothing gets by you over there. You really are on top of your game. His name is Nate Davis.
No, we don't need to do this right now.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. It's going to take 1 minute.
Can we save it for tomorrow, please?
Okay. All right, Hope.
Thank you.
I don't know what you're.
You just got scolded by your dad.
Yeah.
Daddy told you
Hoge
to
is my
be
dad.
quiet.
We have that cut somewhere, too.
Say it. Say it. Yes, Daddy. Say it.
Li-
Say it. Say yes, Daddy.
Listen to me.
Say it.
Listen to me.
Say it.
Please end the show.
You coward.
Listen-
Say yes, Daddy.
Listen to me, Junior.
Yes, Daddy. I'll not. I'll
And
wait
one-
till tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.